What it do, YouTube? You know it's still alive, bro. And we back with another one, man. And I've done a lot of Kobe. I've done a lot of MJ, a lot of Larry Bird, a lot of Michael. Sorry, I said MJ. I've done Magic Johnson. I've done a whole bunch of players. But we've saw a lot of Shaq in my Kobe videos and stuff, but I've yet to do a Shaq video. And this video popped up saying the NBA star who couldn't shoot but outscored everybody. And Shaq is my favorite big man of all time. I think Shaq is the greatest center that we've ever seen play the game. I know some people will be like, oh, no, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain. Nah, Shaq is the most dominant center that we have ever seen play the game of basketball. And we're going to get right off into this video, man. I feel like, in my opinion at least, he's by far the best big man we've ever seen put the shoes on and pick up a basketball. We're going to get right off into this, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Drop any videos that you guys want me to react to in the comments below. And let's do this.
Be able to play in the NBA, right? Well, you're 100% correct, unless your name happens to be Shaquille O'Neal, one of the world's best and most famous basketball players of all time. With just one single three-pointer made in 19 years and over 5,000 missed free throws. It's no surprise that Kobe Bryant even started hating him for it. But how is it then possible that he managed to win 4 championships, 3 finals MVPs, and even a spot in the top 10 scorers list of all time? Well, it all begins in Newark, New Jersey on the 6th of March 1972, when Lucille O'Neal gave birth to a baby boy she would name Shaquille Rashawn O'Neal, a Muslim name which translates to Little Warrior. The young boy was almost double the size of his peers, meaning he often struggled to fit in, causing him to develop self-confidence issues. He also lacked guidance, as his biological father didn't want to be in his life, and it seemed likely the young boy was destined for a life identical to those around him. However, this was all about to change. You see, Lucille had met a man by the name of Sergeant Philip Harrison, someone she would fall in love with, and thankfully for Shaq, Sergeant Harrison was about to change his life, because as a Christmas gift, he bought the pair tickets to go and watch the—
Sorry, I was checking my phone because I gotta go help this girl change her battery in her car in a little bit. She's got a dead battery, but that'll be at like 1:30, so I got time. We're gonna finish this stream. I might even have time to do another stream after this, but we're gonna keep going on this one.
The New York Knicks play the Philadelphia 76ers at Madison Square Garden. Shaq would watch in awe as Dr. J flew through the air, and he would feel the roar of the crowd, igniting a flame within him that would never be put out. O'Neal knew then and there exactly what he wanted to do, informing his father, "I want to become an NBA player." Sergeant Harrison was ecstatic, telling his son, "I will make you the best big man of all time." In 1982, the O'Neal family—
And he did. He was the greatest big man we have ever seen. I don't care what people say. I'm sorry. If you realistically don't sit back and say Shaquille O'Neal is the best center we've ever seen play the game, then you're realistically not looking at it from a biased or unbiased perspective.
would move to an army base in Germany, as Shaq's father wanted to get them away from the violence and crime in New Jersey. Whilst the Little Warrior was devastated to be leaving all of his friends in Newark behind, it was at this—
I didn't know that Shaq moved to Europe when he was a kid, though.
army base where he would meet someone who would change his life forever. Because a few years after they arrived, Louisiana State University head coach Dale Brown was on base running a camp for their basketball team. But unfortunately for Shaq, he wasn't on their team because he was cut as a freshman. Despite
Just like MJ.
this, his father forced him to attend Coach Brown's post-camp talk. Shaq, unsure what to say, asked for advice on how to jump higher, and the LSU coach assumed the young O'Neal was a soldier due to his insane size. So when Shaquille told him he was only 13, his eyes lit up. Dale knew then and there he had to get this shy teenager to play for him at Louisiana. Coach Brown would write to the young man every single week, sending him VHS tapes of games or other dominant bigs to study, as well as a strength—
Patrick Ewing and Akeem Olajuwon, two of the best big men we've ever seen for sure.
program to help him increase his vertical leaping ability, as shockingly, Shaq still wasn't able to dunk. But thankfully for the young man, his father would help him the only way he knew how. Before his junior year in high school, the O'Neals would move once again, this time to San Antonio, where Shaquille would finally make his high school varsity team at Robert G. Cole High. Shaq was dominant, but he wasn't fulfilling his true potential, as during a regular season game, he attacked the basket hard, only to miss a simple layup. His father would then storm onto the court and force his son to call a timeout, taking him outside and letting him know, "Stop trying to be Dr. J. Be Shaquille O'Neal." This advice flipped a switch in Shaq's head. He was angry. He would return to the game and dunk with such force, his opponents began to move out of his way. Shaq would take his anger out on the rim, but it was never his goal to break a backboard. No, it was something deeper. He wanted his opponents to fear him. Thanks to this mindset shift, he began to truly dominate, playing each game with extreme force. However, the young man still had a key flaw in his game. You see,
Couldn't shoot.
Cole High School would make it all the way to the regional final, where Shaq had the opportunity to tie the game late at the free throw line. However, he would miss both, and his team would be eliminated by Liberty High School. Shaq was devastated and vowed to never let his team down like that ever again. It was thanks to this refreshed focus that the teenager carried his team to a 35-0 record throughout his senior season, and it was clear Shaquille was ready to move on to collegiate basketball. However, there was one final hurdle he had to jump before he could take that next step. You see, once again, Cole would face Liberty High School in the 1989 regional final, but this time, Shaq dropped 44 points en route to an impressive win, which would allow them an opportunity to play for a state championship. Once more throughout their state final, O'Neal was dominant, but this time it was on the defensive side of the floor, blocking shot after shot. His newfound defensive prowess led Cole High to win a Texas state championship, fulfilling the promise he made after failing at the free throw line 1 year ago. Despite having offers from much higher ranked colleges, it was Shaq's loyalty to LSU's Coach Brown that led him to commit.
Of course, that coach had put so much faith and knew what Shaq was going to be, and Shaq respected that so much that like from when he was 13 years old, this coach was in contact with him. So of course Shaq was going to go play with him in college. Of course.
To play Division I basketball in Louisiana all the way back in November of 1988, far before he really began to flourish. But despite being one of the most dominant players in America, O'Neal would face some issues in his first year at college.
Oh,
you see,
goodness.
Upon arrival for his freshman season in 1989, LSU already had two star players, a guard who many considered to be the original Steph Curry, Chris Jackson, who would later change his name to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and another dominant 7-footer, Stanley Roberts. This stacked roster meant O'Neal would go from being the star player in high school to the third option, causing tension between himself and Stanley as the pair battled for the starting center role. However, it was Roberts who earned that spot throughout Shaquille's freshman season, and despite coming off the bench, Shaq would average 13.9 points, 12 rebounds, and an incredible 3.6 blocks.
Oh, that looked like goaltending.
Averaged 13.9 points, 12 rebounds, and an incredible.
That's goaltending. That ball was on the way down.
Coming off the bench, Shaq would average 13.9 points, 12 rebounds, and an incredible.
That ball's on the way down right there. It went over the peak. Shaq hasn't touched it yet. Yeah, that's goaltending. That's 100% goaltending.
3.6 blocks per game, and something would change at LSU because, unfortunately for Stanley, he became academically ineligible to play during O'Neal's sophomore season, freeing up the starting center position, an opportunity Shaquille ran with. Over his next 2 years at LSU, Shaq would average 25.8 points, pull down 14.3 rebounds, and block an insane 5.1 shots per game. It was thanks to these performances that the 20-year-old was named as the National Player of the Year. But despite earning this incredible individual accolade, LSU struggled to compete for a national championship due to one key flaw with Shaq. You see, throughout his 3-year collegiate career, defenders would just foul him if they got beat. But isn't this a terrible idea? Well, O'Neal would only make an average of 57% of his free throws during his time at LSU. Therefore, it was often better to take the gamble at the free throw line than let him tear your rims off the backboard. And this flaw cost him because LSU would never advance further than the second round at the March Madness tournament, only winning 2 games while losing 3 at the Big Dance. Despite this flaw, the NBA was calling, but Shaq would lay awake at night, doubting his ability to succeed succeed at the professional level, comparing himself to Duke standout Christian Laettner. Laettner, in O'Neal's eyes, was a better player because he had it all: a jump shot, a handle, and Shaq thought that he
See, Shaq got a handle a little bit once he got into the NBA. He wasn't like no crazy good ball handler or nothing, but there's quite a few clips out there where Shaq would get in the low post, not in the low post, but like in the mid range, and he would cross up another big man and get to the rim pretty easy.
would be the number one pick, not himself. But even though Shaq was unsure he would be the top pick, the NBA sure wasn't, because every single lottery team snuck in an O'Neal number one jersey, ready to hold it up if they were fortunate enough to land the top pick. The NBA draft lottery would come down to two final teams, the Charlotte Hornets and the Orlando Magic.
The second pick in the 1992 NBA draft goes to the Charlotte Hornets. And that means
Orlando's got it.
that the Orlando Magic will pick first in the 1992 NBA draft.
And just a few weeks later,
Let's go now to David Stern for the first selection of 1992.
With the first pick in the 1992 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
See, like this is why like people be like, oh, Shaq was only in the league for 4 years before Kobe, but Shaq also played 4 years at college. So really, when Kobe came in the league in 1996 at 18 years old, Shaq had already been playing eight, or I'm not. He played 4 years in college and then was in the league for 4 years. So he'd already been playing 8 more years outside of high school. You know what I mean? Than Kobe did when Kobe came into the league. So of course Shaq was a better player in the 90s, and like I said, you could say up until about 2000, Shaq was for sure the better player on the team. After that, it was never like. And if you really look at the numbers for the 2000,
Check this out. I'm going to show you
Um,
how I afforded this car.
yeah, Shaq's numbers in the 2000 finals were better, but Kobe's numbers in the 2000 playoffs were better.
I picked up the car a few months ago, and watch this, right?
Shaq-
People don't remember that Shaq fouled out, you know what I mean? And Kobe was the one that carried the Lakers.
had finally achieved his dream of becoming an NBA player, and he was ready to dominate the NBA the same way he did in college and high school. But doubt still lingered in his mind. While it often takes rookies a few months to adjust to the NBA playstyle and playing against grown men, the Orlando number one pick would average 25.8 points, 16.4 rebounds, and 3.4 blocks in his first 5 games for the Magic.
Damn.
This insane start would have Shaq named as the NBA Player of the Week in just his first week
That's crazy. I've never heard of a rookie getting player of the week.
playing in the NBA, a feat that had never been achieved before. Shaquille had arrived. Throughout the rest of his rookie season, O'Neal would help Orlando add an extra 20 wins to their record, but the Magic would face a key issue. You see, they would play the Phoenix Suns early in Shaq's rookie year, and late in the game, Phoenix did this.
They foul Shaquille O'Neal. This gets the Magic to within one. Matt Dukas watching as he could have tied it. A 53% foul shooter does not get it done.
Their reasoning for this was simple.
But he has a weakness. He's missed 23 of his last 37 free throws.
It was due to Shaq's poor free throw shooting that Orlando
See, this is the shit that would have pissed me off. I think this is why Kobe got so pissed off by it too, because if I was Shaq and I was that, like, I was actually a really good free throw shooter. Like, I remember like when I was in junior high, I was on the bench at one point towards the end of the game, and there was a technical foul or something, and my team got to pick who shot the free throw, and my coach sent me in to shoot the free throw. Like I was actually a really good free throw shooter, but I like after practice and stuff, even in junior high and shit already, or like when I would go to the rec center and play and shoot by myself and run drills and shit, I would literally sit there and shoot 50, 100, 150, 200 free throws in a row, like, and try to only miss a handful at the most. Like, if I was Shaq, dude, I would have been in the gym shooting 500 free throws every day. But it's also his hand positioning on the ball. He had such, like, he's holding it off to the side, like, not in front of him.
they would miss the playoffs by 4 points. However, this might actually be a blessing in disguise, because just a couple weeks after the season ended, the rising star would meet someone who would have a huge impact on his basketball career. You see, Shaq didn't just dream of becoming an NBA star, he dreamed of becoming a rapper as well as an actor, so he would get himself a role in a basketball-themed movie, Blue Chips. It was on set that Shaquille would meet another rising star, Anthony Hardaway, who was nicknamed Penny by his grandmother.
I was about to say, who the fuck is that? But I know Penny Hardaway. I just didn't know his real name.
Anthony had just finished his college career during the filming of Blue Chips and was set to enter the NBA draft. While filming, Shaq and Penny developed a great bond, resulting in Shaq telling Orlando that they should draft Hardaway in the 1993 NBA draft. But Anthony was a projected top 5 pick, and Orlando, thanks to their newfound success, were likely to be picking late in the lottery with the 13th or 14th pick. However, what would happen during the draft lottery was nothing short of a miracle, because despite having a 1 in 66 chance of landing the number 1 pick, somehow, someway, Orlando was crowned champions of the lottery 2 years in a row. As the 1993 draft began, Orlando, to the surprise of almost no one, would select who many believed to be the best player in the draft.
The first pick in the 1993 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Chris Webber.
And Golden State would be the team to select Penny with their 3rd pick. So, did Orlando ignore their future superstar's request to draft his newfound friend? Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade. Orlando has traded the draft rights to Chris Webber to Golden State in exchange for the draft rights to Anthony Hardaway and 3 future first-round draft picks.
Damn, and Orlando put a fucking deal together. Chris Webber, so 2 fucking rookies that just got drafted back to back. Somehow Orlando got to do the trade, but also get 3 more first-round draft picks. That's crazy.
Whoa. What's that? I just put
Fucking Golden State's kind of dumb for that. Chris Webber was a beast, but that's a dumb trade.
just like the start of his senior season in high school, Shaq was hungry to prove to the NBA he was more than a dunking machine, and in fact was a superstar level player, capable of leading his team to the NBA playoffs. Throughout the 1993-1994 season, the sophomore center would record an insane 53 points against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Damn, I didn't know Shaq ever scored 53.
But even more insane was recording his first ever career triple-double, but not with assists. No, Shaq scored 24 points, grabbed 28 rebounds, and had 15 blocks. 15! And it wasn't just scoring and blocking shots that O'Neal provided. You see, because he was so physically dominant, opposing teams often had to send multiple players to try and slow him down, resulting in his teammates being far more open throughout the season.
And Shaq became an underrated passer, low-key. Shaq really was a good passer for a big man. He wasn't on no Nikola Jokic timing for passing, but he was a great passer.
This resulted in Orlando achieving something they had never done.
I like how Shaq, somebody asked Shaq one time what would happen if he was in his prime meeting up with Nikola Jokic in his prime, and he was like, is that a real question? He was like, as great as Jokic is, he was like, he said something about Slovenian chicken. He said, I would have been eating him up. And I 100%, there's nothing Joker could have done to stop Shaq on defense. Like, as great as he is. Now, Shaq would have a hard time stopping Jokic on defense too, though. Because Joker could do some of the craziest shit. But on defense, there's nothing Joker could have did to stop Shaq. Not a damn thing.
in the short history of their franchise, as thanks to their new dynamic duo, they would win 50 games, earning them the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. Their opponent for their first ever playoff series, the Indiana Pacers. Heading into the series, Indiana was the slight favorite, as they had already been to the playoffs in the previous year, but many assumed Shaq would be too much for Indiana to handle, or would he? Throughout Game 1, Shaq was his usual self, scoring 24 points, blocking 5 shots, and only making 2 of his 6 free throws, leading Orlando to hold a 2-point lead with 13.3 seconds remaining. However, despite O'Neal grabbing 19 rebounds throughout Game 1, he missed the most crucial defensive rebound of the game, giving Indiana another chance to tie or take the lead.
Damn.
There it is, wide open. Scott for 3.
Oh.
Orlando would lose Game 1 by a single point, with Shaquille missing the most important rebound of the game and leaving 4 vital points at the free throw line. Unfortunately, this negative trend continued throughout Games 2 and 3. The Magic's second-year star would struggle with foul trouble throughout both games, resulting in the Pacers sweeping the Magic, crushing their championship hopes. But this was all about to change, because on July 30th, 1994, the Orlando Magic would make a huge move, signing a
I'm not gonna lie, for a second, from back here, without being able to see what he actually has on, that shit looks like something that's not allowed out in public, that got banned like 100 years ago. You know, the people that burn crosses. I was like, what the fuck is on my screen right now?
1994, the Orlando Magic would make a huge
But then it goes to this, and I'm like, oh. What?
Move, signing a 3-time NBA champion power forward, stealing free agent Horace Grant away from the Chicago Bulls, as well as signing their crosstown rivals free agent Brian Shaw. During the 1994-1995 regular season, Orlando would showcase their magic, with Shaq finishing the regular season as the scoring champion, averaging 29.3 points per game, and his fellow rising star, Penny Hardaway, would be named to the All-NBA First Team. These incredible performances would result in Orlando finishing the season as the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Orlando, angry from their playoff failure the year before, came out firing in their first-round playoff series against the Celtics. O'Neal would finish with 23 points, and the Magic would shockingly defeat Boston by 47 points in Game 1.
Damn, okay. Okay.
Claiming the franchise's first ever playoff victory. This positive trend continued as the Magic ended the series a few games later, defeating the Celtics 3-1. Their next challenge was a team that early on in the season would have been an easy
Because this is back when it was best out of 5. Now it's best out of 7.
sweep, but that had changed with 2 simple words.
I'm back. That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed to say as his 17-month retirement came to an end.
This would be O'Neal's first real test in the NBA, as many touted him to be the face of the NBA while MJ was retired. But could a big man that struggles to make half of his free throws really lead his team past the Chicago Bulls? Because their head coach, Phil Jackson, opted to double down on fouling Shaq. If any of the Bulls players ever got beat, they were instructed to foul O'Neal hard, preferring to put him on the line rather than give up easy dunks. However, for the first time in the superstar's career, this strategy backfired. O'Neal would make 12 of his 16 attempts, finishing with 26 points and a 3-point victory.
Okay. There you go, Shaq.
Perhaps Shaq was figuring out his shooting form after all, or was it just luck? The series would teeter back.
I mean, he was always a bad free throw shooter, but
and forth throughout the next 3 games, resulting in the series being tied at 2 each. And throughout the must-win Game 5, it wasn't just their freak of nature big man that led the way. No, it was their whole team. Shaq scored 23, Penny 19, Horace Grant 24, and Dennis Scott 22, resulting in an 8-point victory, placing the Magic just 1 win away from an Eastern Conference Finals debut. Game 6 was a back-and-forth battle. Both teams exchanged clutch bucket after clutch bucket, but once again, Orlando's all-around approach was too much for the Bulls, who would shockingly lose, resulting in Orlando being the team to move on to the Eastern Conference.
wait, what? What year was this?
Finals. However, while many assumed Chicago would be their biggest challenge in the playoffs, the team waiting for them was one who had already dominated them
Because I thought Michael came back and won 3 more championships? Did he lose 1 year and then win 3 more championships? Because I'm confused now. Hold on. What year did Michael Jordan come back in the 90s? 1995. And then when was his next championship? Okay, so he did lose in 95. 1996, 1997, and 1998. Okay, of course. I'm sorry, y'all. I had a brain fart for a minute and completely forgot about the 1995 season that Michael Jordan lost after retirement. For some reason, I was thinking Michael came back and they won 3 more right away, but I forgot 1995 they lost and he won in 96, 97, and 98. That threw me through a loop for a second because I'm like, what the fuck?
Season ago. But Shaquille was hungry to prove to the world that despite Michael Jordan returning, he was the true face of the new NBA era. And to prove this, he would drop 32 in Game 1 and 39 in Game 2, while shooting a very impressive 70% from the free throw line, leading Orlando.
I did not know that Shaq went to the finals before he was with the Lakers. I didn't know that.
To hold a commanding 2-0 series lead, but Shaq would run into some issues over the next 2 games as the Pacers began to relentlessly attack the rim, causing the young professional to pick up foul after foul, resulting in the center only playing 30 minutes during games 3 and 4, and it only gets worse. You see, while it seemed like O'Neal had been fixing his main flaw, games 3 and 4 showed that was likely a fluke, because Shaq would miss 10 of his 12 free throw attempts, while only scoring 34 points combined over both games. These struggles resulted in Indiana tying the series at 2 wins each, and many began to wonder perhaps Indiana was just perfectly matched up for Shaq and Orlando. Heading into the must-win Game 5 at home in Florida, O'Neal knew he had to step up and put his team on his back. Otherwise, they risked being a single game away from being eliminated. So Shaquille would score 35 points, and while he continued to struggle from the line, missing 10 of his 19 attempts, he was just too dominant, placing his team just a single win away from the NBA Finals. But Reggie Miller, who had been stuck in the Eastern Conference,
this wasn't the finals. My bad. I thought this for some reason they said this was the finals.
Failing to get past Patrick Ewing and his New York Knicks, as well as the Celtics, ever since he entered the NBA, was determined to make his NBA Finals debut. This determination led Miller to drop a mind-blowing 36 points on 69% shooting, en route to a dominant 27-point Game 6 victory. The stage was set, a win or go home Game 7 in Orlando. The Magic had one clear goal throughout: slow Reggie Miller down and let Shaq be Shaq. Miller would struggle all game long, only scoring 12 points, while Shaq would lead Orlando with 25, resulting in an incredible 24-point Game 7 victory. Everyone within the Orlando Magic community was overjoyed. Their franchise, which was only 6 seasons old, had achieved an incredible feat, an NBA Finals debut. A parade was held to celebrate, and multiple Magic players would use the time off between the 2 series to party, a decision that would have drastic consequences.
Damn. Dumbasses. See, this is something that would piss me off because, like, bro, if you're gonna be dedicated to this shit, don't be going and partying. You want to party in the off season? Cool. You want to party during the season when we're not playing games? Cool. But we're in the finals, we're in the playoffs, and you're partying when their games aren't going on. You got me fucked up.
Free to play.
Because
Sorry, this isn't a channel where I hold my language the best.
Was set to face the defending champions of the NBA, the Houston Rockets, who were led by one of the greatest bigs of all time and one of Shaq's idols, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. But the Magic just kept rising as they would hold a 20-point lead throughout the second quarter, and everyone just assumed the team making their NBA Finals debut would be victorious. But Hakeem wasn't going to let that happen. Throughout the third and fourth quarters, Olajuwon, alongside teammates Clyde Drexler and Kenny the Jet Smith, would bring Houston back to within 3 points in the final minute, and Hakeem had the ball one-on-one versus Shaquille, ready to cut the lead to a single point. However, Shaq would showcase his defensive dominance, forcing forcing the dream into a travel, meaning all the Magic had to do was make one more shot and Game 1 would be theirs. Despite missing multiple game-winning attempts, every offensive rebound the Magic got put them closer and closer to victory, forcing Houston to foul Nick Anderson. All Nick needed to do was make one free throw and the game would be over.
At the line this season, particularly in fourth quarters. Today, though, Orlando 12 of 15 at the...
But he didn't. Yet, luckily for Anderson, the ball perfectly missed right back into his hands, forcing Kenny to have to foul him once again, giving him a chance to redeem himself for his failure a few seconds ago.
Oh my God.
By Nick Anderson. Well, the 3 to make 4 rule, that's in effect, I believe, yes. And he misses 4 straight.
Houston called timeout, and their NBA champion point guard Kenny Smith would nail a 3 to send the game into overtime. Throughout extra time, Houston's experience would shine, because in the final possession, with 5.5 seconds remaining and the scores tied, Drexler would beat Anderson, forcing Shaq to have to step up and help, leaving
I promise y'all, it's not my stream that's lagging. It's this old video that's real grainy that sometimes looks like it's lagging. When I was just looking at the stream and it kind of looked like it's lagging, it's doing it just on the video too. So it's not my stream. It's just these old 90s and 80s films and shit be looking like that sometimes.
Olajuwon wide open to tip the miss in. Houston had won Game 1. This negative trend would continue throughout the next 3 games, as Houston would win back-to-back NBA championships, sweeping the Orlando Magic. Shaquille would reflect years later in his book, sharing that he gave his idol, Hakeem, way too much respect, when he should have gone out there and decimated him to prove that he was the best big man in the NBA.
Before you succeed, you must learn how to fail. And I just hope that I don't have to, fail too many more times.
O'Neal vowed that when he got back to the NBA Finals, he would destroy his opponents, showing them no mercy. However, it might be quite a few more years until he gets that chance, because unfortunately for Shaq, he would face some key issues. Firstly, Penny Hardaway had signed a max contract over the offseason and made the Orlando Magic front office promise him one thing: that he would always be the highest paid player on the Magic. Secondly, O'Neal faced some injury woes early on in the season, breaking his thumb in an exhibition game against the Miami Heat, forcing him to miss the first 2 months of the regular season. And finally, Shaq would face some personal issues, because at the start of April, his grandmother, Odessa Chambliss, someone who raised Shaq,
rest in peace, man. I'm sorry for your loss, Shaq.
Into the man he is today, tragically passed away. Devastated, Shaq took time away from the team, informing head coach Brian Hill of his reasoning, and everyone accepted, until Orlando was set to face Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls later on that week, resulting in Coach Hill completely changing his mind, telling the media he had no idea where Shaq was, and that he was expecting him to play against the Bulls. The grieving O'Neal, upset by what he was reading, hopped on a flight, showed up in the second quarter, and still managed to score 21 points. But despite Shaq's Superman-like arrival, Orlando still lost to the Bulls. Shaquille was upset, not because of the loss, but due to Coach Hill's sudden change in demeanor, making him feel like he was just a player for the Magic, not a young man going through his first real loss. A few months later, motivated to get revenge for their second round exit the year before, Jordan and his Chicago teammates would decimate Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals, ending their hopes of going back to another NBA Finals. Shaq once again was crushed, but things were only going to get worse. You see, as contract negotiations began, Orlando was unwilling to pay O'Neal more than Penny Hardaway, offering him $69 million over 7 years, which Shaq would deny. News of this would get out to the public, and the Orlando Centennial would run a poll asking, is Shaq worth the $115 million he's asking for? The response, 91.3% of people said no. It became clear to Shaquille that despite carrying the Magic to their first NBA Finals, he was no longer welcome in Orlando. 12th of July, 1996, Los Angeles Lakers general manager Jerry West has just gotten off the phone with the Charlotte Hornets, finally completing a trade to land a player he believes is the next big thing in the NBA. West has just traded
that fucking Kobe Bean motherfucking bomb.
Big man.
Goddamn, the Black Mamba, bro, has arrived. 1996.
Bloody Diva.
From then on, as soon as MJ was retired, it was the Mambas League.
For the 13th pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the self-proclaimed Will Smith of the NBA, Kobe Bryant. Now, all West had to do was find someone to pair with his new dynamic shooting guard. And with the extra money he saved by removing Divac, he knew exactly who to go after. So, Jerry would call Shaq's agent and offer him a $120 million contract over 7
Kobe Bean Bryant, man. As soon as he arrived, it only took by 1998, like 2 years in, you know what I mean? He was already one of the best players in the league. By 2000, he was, you know what I mean, top 3 best player in the league. By 2001, he was the best player in the league.
Been to a dentist
years, so O'Neal became a Laker. However, whilst Jerry knew he had a combination capable of winning championship after championship, it would take the pair quite a few years to realize their potential, because in their first season together in the 1996-1997 season, LA would get defeated by the eventual NBA finalists, the Utah Jazz, in the first round of the playoffs.
Right there, that's when I talk about in the Kobe videos a couple times when Kobe airballed 4 shots late in the game.
Defeated by the eventual NBA finalists, the Utah.
Shaq walks up to him right here and says, "They're laughing now, but one day they're going to fear you."
Jazz in the first round of the playoffs. Throughout the 1997-1998 season, progress would get made, with the Lakers this time advancing all the way to the Western Conference Finals. But once again, they just weren't good enough to beat the Jazz. But they were clearly progressing as a team. Yet things weren't all positive, because West, who had made great move after great move for the team, decided to fire head coach Del Harris and promote his top assistant Kurt Rambis to the lead position. While many felt this move was needed, it was this change that started some issues within the Lakers. You see, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal were both alphas who felt like they should be the center of the offense, and neither one of them wanted to be the Robin to the other's Batman. But Rambis would change this. You see, throughout the lockout-shortened 1999 season, the now 20-year-old Bryant would see a massive increase in his role. Kobe would go from being a bench player who only started 7 games in his career so far to starting every single night.
Which was a mistake. Del Harris fucked up doing that to Kobe. Like, he should have started Kobe right away and let Kobe get the experience. Like, Kobe should have never been coming off the bench. I'm sorry, he shouldn't have. Del Harris was a fucking fool for that.
Thanks to Kurt. While no one within LA was upset about this, the issue was with how Kobe played, because he would often try to take defenses on by himself, holding the ball for full possessions without looking to pass or at least get the ball through other hands, causing a rift within the Lakers. It was this tension that caused Los Angeles, for the 3rd season in a row, to be eliminated from the playoffs. Shaq, yet again, was devastated. All he wanted to do was win, and the expectations began to affect him, because people would compliment his game, yet it was always followed up with,
But they said he spent too much time on movies and rap albums.
Shaquille can do this, but
Jerry knew he had to do something to remedy the situation. He had specifically paired Shaq and Kobe, knowing full well that if they just worked together, they could win 5 championships without breaking a sweat. And thankfully for West, help was on the way, because another NBA general manager by the name of Jerry Krause, who built the Chicago Bulls dynasty that won 6 NBA championships throughout the 1990s, had decided to let his star head coach Phil Jackson go after the 1997-1998 season. Coach Jackson was responsible for aligning a Bulls roster that was loaded with superstars and getting their star player, Michael Jordan, to buy in to winning as a team rather than playing as individuals. While many were unsure if Phil would actually return to the NBA, the opportunity of working with a roster as talented as LA was.
He did exactly what he did in the Bulls. You know what I mean? Not all head coaches can. Phil Jackson had a mindset that he taught his teams with, and a system on the court that worked to where people would actually buy into it and buy into playing as a team and winning. Because like before Phil Jackson got to the Bulls, Michael was the same way as Kobe, trying to do it all himself. You know what I mean? Like, Michael lost to Larry Bird in the finals, And Larry Bird was like, that wasn't Michael Jordan out there. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan. But Larry Bird still won the game. Michael Jordan scored 63 or something like that, but Larry Bird still won the game until there was a system at the Bulls that worked, not just one play. You know what I mean? He was already the best player in the world, but he didn't have a system around him that worked. And once Phil Jackson came to LA and brought that system, it was over with.
Too hard for the six-time champion to turn down. To help remedy the issues between Shaq and Kobe, Phil knew he had to find a great point guard, someone who could distribute the ball evenly within their offensive system, which would be focused around O'Neal, not Kobe. So Jerry West signed former Orlando Magic point guard Brian Shaw, and the Lakers got off to an incredible start. Shaquille would have
his— at this point, this is 1999. So this is like, at this point, yes, Shaq is the better player than Kobe. Kobe's only been in the league for 3 years. Shaq has already been in the league for like 10 years at this point. Well, outside of, because Kobe came in at 18, Shaq played 4 years in college. So Shaq's been in the league for a minute at this point. He's way older than Kobe. So at this point, yes, Shaq was the best player. And like I said, in 2000, you could say Shaq was the best player. But after that, it was Kobe. Kobe was the best player in the world. From 2001 on, Kobe was the best player in the world.
Best individual season in the NBA so far. He was now the true focal point of their offense, allowing him to drop 61 points on his birthday. And it wasn't just O'Neal who was dominant. The Lakers would win 30 of their final 31 games, finishing with one of the greatest all-time win-loss records, ending the season with 67 wins and 15 losses. O'Neal would average nearly 30 points, 3 blocks, and 14 rebounds a game, resulting in the star being named as the NBA's most valuable player, making it clear LA was ready to win an NBA title. Their first hurdle, the Sacramento Kings.
So was this the 2000? I thought this was the 99 season, but this is the 2000 season.
Continuing this impressive run, the 28-year-old big man would drop an insane 46 points in Game 1 alongside 5 blocks, and Kobe would decimate the Kings defense in Game 2, scoring 32 points. The Lakers duo destroyed Sacramento, placing them just a single
34 and 32. That's already right there, 66 points. Like, and then you get the other 5 points here, 10 points here, 8 points here, 11 points here, bro. That's a hard team to beat.
Win away from moving on to the second round.
Especially when this was the more like the, not the spacing era. So like this is when teams were scoring 80, 90, 100 points. People weren't scoring 130 all the time, 140 like they do nowadays sometimes.
But the Kings were hungry. You see, Chris Webber never forgot about Shaq asking Orlando to trade him for his friend, and Divac wanted to prove that he should have been the Lakers center. Therefore, Sacramento would dominate games 3 and 4. They would attack O'Neal's weak point, as Shaq would attempt 26 free throws but only make 10, resulting in the series being tied at 2 games each. Perhaps the duo that's supposed to win 5 NBA titles was never going to work. Maybe Shaq's free throw struggles would forever prevent him from winning an NBA title. However, Shaq wasn't going to let his team down. He wanted nothing more than to win his first NBA championship. Therefore, he would score 32 points in Game 5, leading LA to a huge 27-point victory against the Kings. The MVP had proven that he was the most dominant player in the NBA, and this success continued throughout their next matchup against the Phoenix Suns. Shaquille would drop 37 in Game 1, 38 in Game 2, and 37 in Game 3, once again carrying LA to a series victory, earning them a chance to make the NBA Finals. However, they would run into their toughest test yet, the Portland Trailblazers, who were led by 6-time NBA champion Scottie Pippen as well.
Okay, yeah, this is when Pippen was on the Trailblazers after Jordan retired.
As their dominant center, Arvydas Sabonis. Yet, this defensive-minded lineup wasn't enough to stop the center from scoring 41 points in their Game 1 victory.
From the out-of-bounds play, Kobe, that's crazy, bro. Out of bounds play to the oop is crazy. This is why they were the best duo. This is the best big man, little man duo we have ever seen play the game. We've never seen a center and a guard better than Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. We've never seen it.
Enough to stop the center from scoring 41 points in their Game 1 victory, setting the tone for the rest of the series. However, Portland would use a very familiar strategy, now dubbed Hack a Shaq, and simply put, LA's success depended on Shaquille making free throws. In the games they won, he made 20 on 38 attempts, and in the games they lost, 15 from 39, making it clear if they were going to win Game 7, O'Neal would have to make his free throws. But before Shaq could win or lose the game at the free throw line, LA found themselves down 15 points to start the fourth quarter. Shaquille had been through so much in his 8-year NBA career, and he wasn't going to miss out on the finals once again. Therefore, throughout the final quarter, LA would slowly crawl their way back, eventually tying the game at 75 all with 4 minutes remaining. However, Portland would go back to the same strategy that worked in their 3 wins.
Playing on
I think
iPhone,
at this point
now you
is when you almost gotta stop giving the ball to Shaq.
unlock bigger screens.
That has to be just for defensive purposes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at this point, you gotta like get somebody else to score the ball, and you gotta like just have Shaq out there for defense, because bro, giving it to him if they're just gonna put him at the line. But he came through.
Shaq would then score a beautiful jump hook in the next possession, and with 45 seconds remaining, this happened.
The Lakers have 2. Bryant.
One of the most iconic plays of all time. Kobe to the oop to Shaq.
For the second time, Shaquille had made it to the NBA Finals, but the self-doubt would creep in once again. Was I good enough to achieve this? Thankfully for Shaq, a certain someone told him something that completely changed his outlook, with his mother reminding him, "You were the happiest and most positive little boy I've ever seen." Now, draw on that positive thinking as a grown man. Shaquille O'Neal would have one of the most dominant NBA Finals of all time, scoring 43 points in Game 1, 40 in Game 2, 33 in Game 3, 36 in Game 4, 35 in Game 5, and 41 in Game 6.
Shaq.
Winning his first.
That's why, like, in the finals of 2000, Shaq was by far the best player in the finals. Now, throughout the whole playoffs, it was Kobe and Shaq were doing, you know what I mean, the same numbers pretty much. But Shaq was the MVP of the finals in 2000 for sure. Now, I definitely don't think Shaq should have won the MVP for all their finals together. Kobe was definitely the MVP in at least 03. And I honestly think, not 03, and 2000, because, But I think Kobe should have got a finals MVP a couple times, but, like, it is what it is.
Ever NBA championship against the Indiana Pacers. Shaq would embrace his superstar teammate as tears ran down his face, because after 8 grueling seasons, he had finally achieved his lifelong goal. This incredible string of games would earn O'Neal the Finals MVP award, meaning he had won the All-Star MVP, regular season MVP, and the Finals MVP, a feat only achieved by 2 other players. Shaq would spend his offseason recovering. His role meant he spent most of his nights getting absolutely destroyed by his defenders, as well as enjoying the fruits of his labor. But it was this rest that started to cause issues within the Lakers, because the same player who embraced him just a few weeks ago was already back in the
gym working. Yeah, like, this is that work ethic of Kobe, man. He wasn't taking no days off. They said Kobe was literally back in the gym the next day or 2 days after he won his championship. He was already in there sweating, working out at 5 in the morning.
Gym, preparing to win back-to-back NBA titles. Thanks to his hard work, Kobe would arrive to training camp for the 2000-2001 NBA season in the best shape of his career, compared to O'Neal, who arrived out of shape. Kobe was pissed. Why is it that this guy, who lost us multiple games and nearly cost us a championship because of his terrible free throw shooting, gets to spend the whole offseason relaxing and not working on his game? Yet he's the main guy? That should be me. Bryant wasn't going to let Phil Jackson dictate who should run the show. He was going to go out and take that role from Shaq. This mindset was most evident in a regular season game against the Golden State Warriors, who were one of the worst teams in the NBA that season. Kobe would attempt 35 shots throughout this overtime game, a game that should have never gone into overtime in the first place. You see, most of these 35 shots were Bryant ignoring his teammates, just looking to force his way to a victory rather than playing as a team, resulting in a 3-point loss. O'Neal was beside himself, and while general manager Jerry West would usually calm Shaquille down, he had been let go by the Lakers owner Jerry Buss over the offseason, and Mitch Kupchak had been hired to replace him. The rift between the pair was coming to a breaking point, but something fortunately unfortunate would happen to Kobe towards the end of the season, because he would sprain his ankle, forcing him to miss multiple games. Therefore, the Lakers got back to how they played in their previous championship run. The ball returned to Shaquille's hands, and
I see where Kobe's coming from, because Kobe wanted to play within the system, but he was also mad that Shaq was not working the same amount as him. So he's like, fine, if you're not going to work as hard as me, I'm not going to respect you as much as my second-hand dude. You know what I mean? I'm not going to respect you as a 1-2 punch. Like, I'm going to try to take the show because you're not working as hard as me. And that's a downfall of Kobe's work ethic, yeah, because when he doesn't see people working as hard as him, it pisses him off.
the offense began to flow once again. Meanwhile, Kobe was sitting on the bench, observing the Lakers play beautiful team basketball. And while many thought Bryant would come back and try to do the exact same thing, it was quite the opposite. You see, upon his return, he would start to buy back in to their team-focused offense. Kobe's way of saying, okay, I was wrong, let's win another title. And thankfully for the Lakers, this was just in time for their first round playoff series, a rematch of their epic battle against the Portland Trailblazers. But this time, it wasn't even close, with the Lakers sweeping the Blazers. And it gets even crazier, because just like the Blazers, a team who took them to 7 games in 2000, their next matchup was the Sacramento Kings, another team who took them all the way to an elimination game as well. However, just like Portland, they got swept as well. Surely their Western Conference Finals matchup, the San Antonio Spurs, led by 1999 champion David Robinson and Tim Duncan, would put up a fight? Nah, the Lakers swept them too. Los Angeles seemed unstoppable.
This is 2001. Like I said, now this is prime Kobe almost. Like this is prime Kobe start. Like he's been in the league for 5 years now. This is why I say at this point in time, Kobe was the best player in the world by 2001. In 2000, yeah, Shaq was the best player. In 2001 and their run, Kobe was the best player in the world.
11-0 en route to their NBA Finals matchup against the 2001 NBA Most Valuable Player, Allen Iverson, as well as the 2001 Defensive Player of the Year, Dikembe Mutombo, who played for the Eastern Conference champions, the Philadelphia 76ers. This stage was
it's an iconic freaking championship right here, man. 76ers with AI versus Kobe.
This would be the Lakers' chance to go back-to-back as NBA champs. However, Allen Iverson had a different plan, dropping an insane 48 points throughout Game 1, which included this insane play.
Hey, my name is Jerry Norton, and in the next 30 seconds...
AI's handles are on another level, man.
$1,000 flipping house.
Iverson. How about that? Steps over Teron Lue.
Despite Shaq scoring 44 points, he missed 12 free throws throughout the game, resulting in the 76ers handing the Lakers their first playoff loss that season. And things would only get worse for LA, because the NBA used to use a 2-3-2 series layout in the finals. The higher seeded team would play the first 2 games at home, and then head to the lower seed's home court for the next 3. Meaning, if the Lakers lost Game 2, they would be down 2-0 heading into Philadelphia, essentially making Game 2 a Game 7. While Shaq would only score 28 points in Game 2, he impacted LA on the other side of the floor, recording an insane 8 blocks throughout the must-win Game 2, resulting in a 9-point Lakers victory. However, O'Neal would run into a huge issue late in Game 3, because the superstar fouled out after elbowing Dikembe.
This is where, you know, Kobe Bryant came into play. Shaq fouled out of a lot of games, and Kobe Bryant takes over.
On a post move, meaning LA would have to rely on its other players to win Game 3. Thankfully for Shaq, Kobe was ready. And a couple of possessions later, Robert Big Shot Bob Ory would close the game out. LA was just 2 wins away from their back-to-back dreams. Once again in games 4 and 5, no one, not even the defensive player of the year, could slow O'Neal down, as he would drop 34 points in game 4 and 29 in game 5, crowning LA as back-to-back NBA champions.
Hell yeah.
And Shaq would win his second Finals MVP.
See, like, this is the championships by Kobe that I didn't get to see because I'm a huge Kobe fan. I got to watch him win. I got to watch him lose in 2008, watch him win in 2009, and watch him win in 2010. But I never got to watch them. I've watched these entire games, you know what I mean? But I never actually got to watch them live because I was literally 1 year old when they won in 2001.
The Lakers were well on their way to fulfill Jerry West's vision of 5 NBA championships. And for once, there would be no drama throughout the 2001-2002 season. Everything was smooth sailing as the Lakers cruised to another Western Conference Finals. Except this time, it was against a team hungry to get revenge and prove that they were the best team in California, the Sacramento Kings. You see, over the course of the past 3 seasons, the Kings had been developing as a unit, and adding Vancouver Grizzlies guard Mike Bibby over the offseason helped them to grab the #1 seed in the Western Conference. It would be this offseason acquisition who led them to a 3-2 series lead after Bibby hit the game-winning shot in Game 5. Shaq was just 1 loss away from being eliminated from his 3-peat dreams.
Saw this look one other time in my career.
And that was
on the faces of the Detroit Pistons in the 91 Eastern Conference Finals. When after years and years of beating the Chicago Bulls, they were about to be swept out of the playoffs.
Are you telling me we're looking into the future?
I don't know, but it looks the same.
But the big man, who many believe to be just as dominant as MJ, wasn't going to let his team down. O'Neal would drop 41 points throughout this elimination game, a dominant performance that was supported by his teammate Kobe, who added 31 points of his own, resulting in the Lakers living another day, forcing a deciding Game 7 back in Sacramento. It all came down to this: whoever wins heads to the NBA Finals. For the Lakers, a chance to three-peat. For the Kings, an opportunity to achieve something their franchise never had done before. But the Lakers had something the Kings didn't.
Our experience will probably help us down the stretch as far as our poise.
And Kobe would share an iconic quote.
Cowbell's never blocked my jump shot. And especially in the Game 7.
The Kings and the Lakers traded bucket for bucket. Shaq would drop 35, Kobe had 30, Mike Bibby chimed in with 29, and Chris Webber 20. But no moment was more important than this one, because with 1 minute 32 seconds remaining in overtime, the scores were locked at 106. So the Kings smartly went to a strategy that had worked so well throughout O'Neal's career.
Coming back to Shaq.
Back is back.
His position and is fouled.
I think this should be against the rules, honestly. Like, this shit should not, like, fouling them hard, like, when they're going to the rim is one thing, but just fouling them simply because they're a bad free throw shooter. Like, what Detroit did to MJ was different. They were fouling him when he was actually going to the rim. These guys, and shooting, these guys weren't even fouling him when he was shooting. They were just fouling him as soon as he would grab the ball.
But what happened next was nothing short of a miracle.
9 of 13 from the line. 12 for 23 from the field, 10 of 14 at the line, 34 points, make it 35.
Crucially giving LA a 2-point lead.
His shooting form is so bad.
Shortly after, Kobe sealed the game at the free throw line. Therefore, LA was off to their 3rd NBA Finals in a row. Awaiting them was the New Jersey Nets, another team that had been transformed by trading for a point guard over the offseason. Jason Kidd had revolutionized the Nets over the 2001-2002 season, and he had this to say about O'Neal.
Nobody's come up with a way to stop Shaq. If it was 20,000 people here, you could have put them all on the floor. You're still not going to stop that guy. I think the best way to defeat him is to try to figure out what car he's going to drive and put sand or something in the gas tank or sugar.
That's funny as fuck, bro.
Because if he makes it to the arena, you're going to be in trouble.
Bro, look, They were mad that Shaq wasn't there to play Chicago when Jordan was there, and he literally drove all the way there and came in during the second quarter just to play the second, third, and fourth quarter. You think that's going to stop him from getting to an NBA Finals game? Bro would have been jogging to the game.
Kid couldn't have been more on the money, as Shaq would score 36 in Game 1, 40 in Game 2, 35 in Game 3, and 34 in Game 4 en route to sweeping the New Jersey Nets, crowning LA as back-to-back-to-back NBA champions. Shaquille would win his third Finals MVP, and the Lakers began their quest to win 4 NBA titles in a row. But this is where things would start to unravel for the Lakers. Because, as usual, O'Neal used the offseason to recover, and he opted to delay a toe surgery until the season began, saying, "I got injured on company time, so I'll recover."
And this shit would piss me off just like it pissed off Kobe.
On company time. This statement frustrated Kobe Bryant, who was hungry to one-up his idol, Michael Jordan. However, the wear and tear on O'Neal, as well as the rest of the Lakers, excluding Bryant of course, was evident throughout their four-peat run. While they would get past the first round, their second-round opponent, the San Antonio Spurs, would get revenge for their 2001 playoff sweep, eliminating LA in 6 games.
Wait, what? Nuh-uh. Hold on, I'm looking something up. Yeah, what? 2003. I'm confused now. Because it says they made it to the championship in 2004, but they lost.
Get past the first round, their second round opponent, the San Antonio Spurs, would get revenge for their
Oh, because they won in 2000, 2001, 2002, lost in 2003, and then they made it back to the finals in 2004, but that's when the team split up.
2001 playoff sweep, eliminating LA in 6 games.
I forget about years here and there. It's been a long time.
While being defeated was devastating, something else happened during that playoff series, because Kobe had multiple insane performances, scoring 39 in Game 2, 35.
Yeah, at this point in 2003, Kobe is by far the best player in the world.
In Game 3 and 36 in Game 4. Bryant was clearly a superstar on the rise, and he was ready to take over Shaq's role as the main offensive option, making how he felt blatantly clear to the media before the 2003-2004 season began. Kobe and Shaq's issues, which had seemed to disappear during their three-peat run, would start back up again, to the point where the Lakers told the pair if they made any more comments, they would be fined. So they agreed not to slander each other in the media, but literally a few hours later, ESPN reporter Jim Gray would release an interview where Kobe would unleash how he truly felt, being critical of Shaq's conditioning during training camp and implying he was ready to be the face of the Los Angeles Lakers. O'Neal would arrive at the Lakers facility the next morning, ready to kill Kobe. The pair's beef had reached its boiling point. It was clear they were no longer going to work together. So after Los Angeles was eliminated by the Detroit Pistons in the 2004-2005 NBA Finals, the Lakers had to make a decision. Do we go with Kobe or Shaq long term? However, before any of this even happened, O'Neal...
Shaq is starting to get old at this time, though. They made the right choice. Kobe almost brought him 3 more championships and did bring him 2 more.
Knew his fate. He knew all the way back in 2000 when Jerry West left that if it ever came down to it, Lakers owner Jerry Buss and general manager Mitch Kupchak would choose Bryant over him. So the search would begin for a new home with one thing in mind. You see, Shaquille was well aware he couldn't single-handedly carry a team. No, he needed to find another superstar to play with. Luckily for O'Neal, there was a team with a young rising shooting guard, Dwayne Wade, and the Miami Heat. O'Neal would arrive in Miami shortly before the 2004-2005 season, ready to do one.
Dwayne Wade, I think, is one of the top 10 shooting guards we've ever seen play the game too, for sure.
thing.
He plays a lot like Kobe.
Remember this? 'Cause I'm gonna bring a championship to Miami, I promise.
And something was different about the big man because he had learnt some huge lessons in his time in LA. Therefore, he would ensure his time started in Miami on a positive note. He would work hard all
See, and this even pissed Kobe off more because he seen that Shaq was working hard in the offseason at Miami, but he wasn't working hard in the offseason with Kobe. And that really pissed Kobe off because that's all Kobe wanted Shaq to do. If Shaq would have been in the gym with Kobe working just as hard as Kobe, they would have won 5 or 6 championships. If Shaq was up early in the gym with Kobe, working just as hard as Kobe was, and working with him on them late night workouts and them early morning workouts that Kobe was doing in the off season and all the time, they would have won 6 championships because they would have been on the same page.
season to meet Miami Heat president Pat Riley's strict body fat percentage of 10%, and he would build a slightly different relationship with his new star partner. This time, Shaq wasn't going to be Batman, he was going to be D-Wade's Robin, and something positive would happen because throughout their first season together, Shaq helped add an extra 17 wins, allowing the Heat for the first time since the 1997 season to make the Eastern Conference Finals, making it clear Shaq didn't need Kobe to win a title. Or did he? Because throughout the 7-game series, Shaq once again shot a terrible 44% from the free throw line, resulting in Detroit for the second year in a row eliminating Shaq from championship contention. But things were about to change because Pat Riley was pissed. He had brought in the most dominant big man in the NBA, but they failed to make it out of the Eastern Conference. So Riley knew he had to make some moves. He began with re-signing Shaq to a team-friendly deal. Shaq did this to allow Pat to bring in key veterans, Gary Payton and Antoine Walker. And the crazy thing is,
If you haven't went and watched it yet, man, I just did a whole watched the whole video and reacted to it on Gary Payton also.
Riley wasn't done. After a horrible start, head coach Stan Van Gundy resigned and Pat Riley made himself their head coach, resulting in a 41-win, 20-loss end to the 2005-2006 season. But something unfortunate would happen in their first round series against the Chicago Bulls, because after they went up 2-0, they started to let their foot off the gas, resulting in Chicago tying the series after game 4, and Shaq's issues were becoming worse and worse as he didn't make a single free throw.
Bro, you would think after all these years, if you would have think that Shaq would have got with a shooting coach to help him with his form. And like, bro, if I was Shaq after being in the league this long, he's been in the league since 1990. And this is 2006? 16 years you had to get with a shooting coach and shoot 500 free throws a day to figure this shit out, bro. You don't need to do any other shooting, just your free throws.
In their 2 losses. However, it was ultimately these L's that helped the Heat gel together as a unit because they would rally back in Game 5 and 6, with O'Neal scoring an impressive 30 points in their closeout game. And as they moved into their second round series against the New Jersey Nets, it was clear they were all on the same page because after a small blip in Game 1, they would win the next 4 with ease, setting up a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals. But this time, they were ready, with Shaq once again dominant in their final game, scoring 28 as the Heat defeated the Pistons in 6. But again, his shooting struggles were continuing to get worse because throughout that series, he shot a career low 41% from the line.
41%, for real?
Speaking of free throws, it was San Antonio Spurs guard Manu Ginobili who fouled Dallas Mavericks superstar Dirk Nowitzki at the end of their 7-game Western Conference Finals series, resulting in Nowitzki icing the game at the line. Therefore, Miami's first ever NBA Finals opponent was the Dallas Mavericks. Rolling from their defeat of the defending NBA champions, Dallas would dominate Miami in the first 2 games, and Shaq, as usual, shot a horrific 2 from 16 at the free throw line. The man,
his shooting got worse as he got older.
became so confident they would be crowned as NBA champs that they published their championship parade route after winning games 1 and 2. Head coach Pat Riley saw this, bringing the article into Miami's locker room before game 3 to motivate his team. This guy is planning a parade. A clear point had been made. Therefore, slowly but surely, Miami, led by their rising superstar D Wade, would win game after game, each victory sucking the soul.
That's a good fucking job by that coach. Brought it into the locker room, put it up on the bulletin board and said, can you fucking believe this guy? They're planning a fucking parade route. That would have pissed me off. I would have been like, oh, hell no.
Out of the once egotistical Dallas Mavericks, to the point where the Heat retook the series and held a commanding 3-2 lead heading to Texas. After their Game 5 victory, Pat Riley had one clear instruction for Game 6 and 7. You are only allowed to bring one suit. We are not going to be playing a Game 7. And as the players boarded their team plane, he would check their luggage to ensure.
Pat Riley is a mastermind of mind games, man. That's so smart.
They followed his instructions. Throughout Game 6, it was once again D Wade who was dominant, dropping 36 points, leading Miami to defeat Dallas and be crowned as NBA champions. Shaq had proved to the world that he didn't need Phil Jackson, Kobe Bryant, or the Lakers to win a title, and he was ecstatic.
1, 2, 3,
Shaquille's incredible NBA.
I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of corny as hell. What the fuck was that dance and that song that he was trying to make? What the fuck?
Career would come to an end 5 years later after short stints with the Phoenix Suns, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Boston Celtics.
Bro, the Boston Celtics was like Shaq at his funniest too, because like Nate Robinson was on that team, and they said when he was at Boston, it was just straight comedy show 24/7. Like Nate Robinson was running around in Shaq's big ass shoes. And if you don't know who Nate Robinson is, he's a super short guy.
Shaq ended his career having,
so he looks super goofy running around in Shaq's like size 18 shoes.
Won 4 NBA titles, 3 Finals MVPs, and is still to this day top 10 in scoring all time, which is insane when you consider he missed over 5,000 free throws.
5,000 free throws, Shaq. Get it together.
And only made 1 3 throughout his incredible 19-year NBA career. However, did you know there is a dominant big man who is playing right now who is the exact opposite of Shaq? A player that has 0 athleticism but still managed to win 3 MVPs, an NBA title, and a Finals MVP? Well, that player is Nikola Jokic, and you can hear more about his inspiring story by clicking on the video on your screen right now.
Yeah, bro. Nikola Jokic, I talked about him in this video a little bit, man. He's definitely a beast, but I don't think realistically them two matched up against each other, Shaq versus Nikola Jokic. I don't think there's any chance Nikola Jokic, like, I don't know. I think Shaq would freaking eat him. You know what I mean? Like, it would be, like Shaq said, Slovenian chicken. But man, it's still live checking out. Make sure y'all drop a like, comment, subscribe, and drop any videos that you guys want me to react to down in the comments. Peace out, y'all.